Today I'm going to recreate the look that I did on actress Isabella Rossellini recently for Lancôme's 80th birthday party in Paris. And when I put pictures of her up on my social media, lots of people said we'd love to see that look recreated. And it's a really festive, party-ish look, very bright lip colour, beautiful lip colour that I think would suit anyone. But it's particularly a lovely look for a more mature face, so 55 upwards. I have a beautiful model today. Her name is Dalia, and I hope you like the look. So we're going to start with Healthy Mix by Bourjois foundation. And this is quite a nice light foundation and moisturising. I'm not going to use too much. I'm just going to really buff that because you have beautiful skin, Dalia.
Thank you.
And I don't want to cover it up. So I'm just evening out a little bit. So just really buffing this in. And I think the main thing is we don't want to choose any kind of foundation which is too dry or too powdery or anything which is going to really take away that natural sheen and that beautiful sort of natural luminosity that you have.
Oh, I'm going to get a lot of compliments today, I can feel.
So next I'm going to use some concealer, and this is Estée Lauder Double Wear, and this will be good because it's long lasting. Just look up for me, Dalia. It's a long lasting, but it's quite creamy. Of all the long lasting ones, I don't find it too drying. And I'm just going to blend that into any shadowy areas. And then just make sure that those edges are really well blended and that the colour is good. You don't want to go too light under the eyes, particularly for an event. If you're going to be photographed and things, you don't want to look too white under the eyes. So onto eyes, I'm going to use the theBalm, and this is an eye primer. I'm going to use this all over. This just helps really to stop any creases of the eyeshadow. And I quite like this one because it's a little bit more moisturising than some of the other ones, which can be a touch on the drying side. For the eyeshadows, I'm going to use this palette, which is Taupe Naturel that I used on Isabella. And I'm going to use a mixture of the brownie shade to the left. Just let that primer dry a second. I know this is a lot of product because you're not used to wearing makeup, having so much on, but hopefully it won't feel like too much. So I'm going to use the Taupe Natural, which is the brown shade, mixed with the slightly lighter shade just at the centre there. I just want to give a little highlight there on the eyelids and just keep all these strokes really light. Don't need heavy eye makeup. It's just giving a little bit of a highlight there, and then I'm using the slightly deeper shade at the centre of the trio in the middle, and just a little bit of definition here, really just more at the outer edge, but nice big stroke. So using a big brush helps. If the brushes are too small, you end up with little small mean lines, I call them. It's nice to have generous clouds of colour and soft shadows with no harsh edges. So a brush which is sort of this kind of shape will really help with that. And just don't press too hard either. Just open for me, Dalia. So just building up a little bit. And when you look straight ahead as well, it's really useful because you can sort of see, oh, I can come out a little bit there. And think about just really creating that sort of little bit of extra definition at the outer edge. And then you can do exactly the same thing underneath, again with a sort of mid-tone taupe. Just join up really at that outer edge, just gives a little bit more definition there. Tickly. And then just buff everything in. And then the same on the other eye. So onto liner, and I used a black line just above Isabella's top lash line. You have such lovely dark eyes, Dalia. I don't want to put too much black around them because in a way you've got this lovely thick eyelashes, which I know when you've got your mascara on will naturally frame, and I think you've almost got natural makeup on already, and I really don't want to overpower that. So just close for me. I think when you do have sort of naturally dark colouring, you want to enhance but not overpower. So I'm just going to use the pencil into the roots of your lashes. This might feel a bit weird, sort of dotting and blending a little bit. This is a gel pencil. Just massaging a little bit and smudging. And then I'm going to use a brush. You could use a sponge or anything just to soften the edge of the line. Make it more about enhancing the eye and less about harsh lines. Particularly if, like Dalia, you have nice thick lashes which are really going to frame the eyes anyway and give you lots of natural definition. And then just open for me. And then just keep buffing and blending. Next I'm going to use a powder eyeshadow. This is from the palette. This is the dark brown, the chocolate brown from the palette. And I'm going to use that just to smudge on top of the liner. We'll just take the edge off and give it a little bit more softness again. And then to finish off framing the eyes, lots of mascara. Along the upper lash. That feels weird. You're not used to it. No. For brows, I'm going to use the Suqqu powder, mixing together the brown and the grey. I'll just brush Dalia's brows first. You have really good brows, just like Isabella. a little bit of extra colour here and there. I don't want to change them too much. Just filling in any little gaps, really. I think it's nice with you doing it with the powder because again you don't get those harsh lines from that you would with a pencil. I'm just going to keep that colour really soft as well, so a little bit of grey, a little bit of brown. Just be careful if your hair is going a little bit grey that you don't use warm brown pencils because they can look really artificial if they have any, particularly if they have a sort of red pigment in them. Another thing that might be good for you, Dalia, is this brow gel. It's the Eyeko one. Just dab it on a tissue before you use it. Mm-hmm. But it's good for brushing them into shape and it just gives them a little bit of colour. So if you have a couple of greys in there or they're becoming a little bit unruly.
Nobody ever told me I would have white hair on my eyebrows. It was a nasty surprise one morning.
That wasn't part of the deal. And this is good because it also holds them in place as well. And it's quick to use, so that's quite a nice one.
They do tend to wander.
Yeah, this is good because it's set, so it'll shape them, it'll define them. It's the Eyeko Brow Gel, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then for cheeks and definition, I'm going to use this palette by Lancôme, and it has a little bit of contour, a little bit of blush, but it's all incredibly natural. Very, very soft. So first I'm going to use the slightly tawny shade. Just so you have great bone structure. I want to emphasize it. I'm itching to get my hands on your bone structure.
Nobody ever said that to me before.
So I'm using it like like contouring, but without leaving any harsh lines. Coming up a little bit here. And a touch. And what we haven't got here is any oranginess, so it's nice because you have that definition, but it's incredibly soft, if you can even see it, but it's very, very natural looking. And then just using in the same way on this side. And then the centre of the palette has a little bit of colour, and you have some natural colour already, so I'm not going to make your cheeks too pink. I'm just going to add a touch of colour there. And then I'm just finishing off with the highlighter, which is also in the palette. It's right at the top here. And this is nice because it doesn't have too much frostiness in it and too much shine. We don't want that because that emphasises little lines and things. So just a touch on the top, very subtly. And it's all incredibly subtle. You have the little bit of definition, a little bit of colour, and then a little bit of highlighter. So onto lips, I'm going to use a very bright shade, this shade. Isabella always wears bright lips, and I actually asked her what she used herself, and she had this shade in her handbag. So I actually used her own lipstick. So I'm going to start by just using it, following the natural line of Dalia's lips. So applying a thin layer, very, very thin layer, really working it into the lips. This will really help the lipstick to stay on, so you're almost creating like a stain if you go back and forward. Same on the top. Again, just following the natural shape to start with. Just getting a little base colour on. Now that I've got this base colour on, I'm going to use a pencil. We're going to create more of a shape. I'm just going to blot a little bit there. Now, I'm just going to cheat slightly your top lip, make you a little bit more Isabella here, just a touch, and it's a really good way of kind of balancing the lip shape out. And the trick here is not to just draw a line around the outside, which will always look very artificial. It's more about doing lots of little strokes. You're an artist yourself, so you'll understand what I mean, Dalia, by you're just kind of doing little small, lots of little circles and strokes, like feathery strokes almost. And then bringing it in to the lips as well, onto the lips. So if we keep building up like that, we're not going to get a harsh line around the edge. And then one more layer of lipstick over the top of the pencil, and then this will really last. And we've got our little cheaty shape on the top there, right into those corners. If you want to, you can blot again this second layer and then just take the lipstick in your bag with you if you need to touch up. But on the night, Isabella had to do a lot of talking, and I just gave her one touch up and her lipstick stayed on all night. So thin layers last longer. And that's the finished look. Now for you, this is going to be a bit of a shock, Dalia, because you're not used to makeup, and now you've got full glamorous 80th anniversary
amazing
party makeup. I don't think you were allowed to just go out now. You have to go to a ball or something.
Yes.
You have to go
dressed
out.
in my frocks.
You have to go out dancing now. Well, thank you so
Absolutely,
much.
thank
It was
you.
such a pleasure. You're such a beauty.
Great. Thank you.